In 1980, Danny, a hired assassin, and his mentor, Hunter, take on a job in Mexico alongside their partners, Davies and Mir. Their mission, assassinate a man. The plan is already in motion, and the attack is carried out. When Danny approaches the target's car to finish the job, he discovers the man's young daughter is with him. Hesitating, unable to harm the child, Danny is caught off guard and takes a bullet to the shoulder from an escorting officer. Danny collapses, and Hunter immediately rushes to his aid as gunfire continues. Davies quickly brings the car around, allowing them to escape. Realizing he can no longer continue this life, Danny decides to walk away for good. A year later, he is living freely in Australia until a package arrives, making it clear that Hunter is in trouble. Agitated, Danny knows he must act. 2 days later, Danny arrives in Oman, where he is picked up by an agent who arranges missions for mercenaries. As they drive to meet Sheikh Amr, the deposed king holding Hunter captive, the agent fills Danny in on what happened. Hunter had accepted a $6 million job, but refused to carry it out for reasons known only to him. He was caught trying to flee at the airport and taken prisoner. Now, if the job isn't completed, Hunter will lose his life. Upon arrival, Danny is searched by security and escorted by Sheikh's youngest son, Bakait. Sheikh hands Danny a file detailing his assignment. He must assassinate 3 former SAS agents in England, men responsible for taking the lives of Sheikh's 3 sons during the Dhofar rebellion. Their confessions must be recorded, and their elimination must appear accidental, ensuring nothing can be traced back to Bakait, who stands to reclaim the desert kingdom his father once ruled. Sheikh, terminally ill, and given just 6 months to live, wants this done before he passes on. If Danny refuses, Hunter will be executed alongside him. Danny asks to see Hunter and is taken to the holding cell. They embrace warmly, but Hunter isn't pleased to see him back in the lifestyle. Well, there's no turning back now. Hunter admits he took the job to support his wife and kids, but couldn't go through with it. Not against the SAS. Thinking quickly, Danny devises a plan to break him out. They manage to take down the guards and make their way out, but their escape is cut short when Bakait intercepts them. With no other choice, Danny agrees to take the job. On the plane, he reminisces about reconnecting with Anne, a longtime classmate. Upon arriving in Paris, he meets with Mir and Davies, filling them in on the mission. Davies lists several reasons why the job is dangerous. Going after the SAS won't be easy. Despite the risks, they both agree to join, but they want their share of the money. Danny decides to split it between them, making it clear he's only doing this for Hunter. So far, they only have a photo of one identified target, Stephen Harris. The other 2 remain unknown, meaning they'll have to track them down themselves. Danny and Mir head to Oman, where Danny successfully sneaks into Stephen Harris's house to set things in motion. Meanwhile, Davies poses as a former SAS agent, questioning bar patrons under the pretense of reminiscing about the war. The bartender, Baza, grows suspicious and contacts Spike Logan, a former SAS enforcer. Spike, in turn, reports to the Feathermen, a secret society of ex-SAS members dedicated to protecting their own. The Feathermen send Spike to investigate, ensuring nothing traces back to them. Spike orders one of his men to tail Davies back to Oman, leading them straight to Danny and Mir. In preparation for Harris's assassination, Danny retrieves a special hammer from the desert with the help of a local. The hammer's head matches the bathroom tiles in Harris's house, and it will be made to look like Harris has slipped in the shower. Meanwhile, Spike's contact manages to take pictures of Danny and his team. However, Danny quickly spots him, triggering a chase. The informant takes off with Danny and the others in hot pursuit, but despite their efforts, he manages to escape. Realizing they now have a tail, Danny decides they need to act fast. He instructs Davies to ensure that the married woman Harris is having an affair with doesn't show up at his house, as they'll be staging a fake interview with him. The next day, Davies cleverly sabotages the woman's car by deflating her tires, while Danny and Mir set up inside Harris's house. Once Harris arrives, they force him to confess his crimes on tape. With the recording secured, they prepare to take him to the bathroom. Harris begins to beg for his life, revealing that someone else was involved. Though he can't recall the name, he mentions that the man is writing a book about the Oman operation. Thinking Harris is just telling tales, Danny and Mir drag him to the bathroom, and just as Danny raises the hammer to strike, a knock at the door interrupts them. Danny steps out to check, leaving Harris with Mir. It turns out to be the married woman, but Danny ignores it. As she leaves, a gunshot suddenly echoes through the house. Rushing back to the bathroom, Danny finds Harris eliminated. Mir, forced to act during a struggle, had no choice but to take him out. The tape is successfully delivered to Bakait. 1 man down, 2 to go. While on a flight to the UK, Danny reminisces about celebrating New Year's with Anne, remembering the moment they shared a passionate kiss. Meanwhile, Spike learns of Harris's passing. It appears the operation may be backed by the British government, and the agent reports to a representative that the assassins are being followed. The representative promises to look into it. Davies, still posing as a former SAS operative, tries to gather information about the Battle of Mirbat. However, the man he's questioning grows suspicious and makes a private call to Spike. Realizing he's been made, Davies has no choice but to take him down before searching for the target's picture himself. Spike reports back to the Feathermen, insisting they must track down the assassins before another elimination takes place. While driving, Davies hands Danny a picture of Warwick Stephen Craig. The only officer present on the night of the Battle of Mirbat was Stephen, meaning he must be their second target. Though Danny dislikes that Davies has gone off plan to gather information, Mir sees it as fair game. Davies informs Danny that Stephen regularly participates in a march at a local SAS base whenever he's not visiting his sick wife in the hospital. Danny instructs him to gather details about the march, but makes it clear that Stephen's family is off limits. Later, Davies takes Danny to the base, where Danny begins formulating a plan to infiltrate it. Davies thinks it's a bad idea, but Danny sees no other way. Disguised, Danny visits the hospital and manages to acquire insulin and chlorpropamide from a nurse. However, as he heads back to his car, he catches the attention of Spike, who is there watching over Stephen. Spike already suspects Stephen is the next target due to his role in Mirbat, and he immediately recognizes Danny from a surveillance photo. Sensing danger, Danny quickly gets into his car and speeds out of the parking lot, with Spike in hot pursuit. Danny doubles back toward the hospital, slipping through a rear entrance, while Spike follows close behind. Inside, an intense fight breaks out between the two. Both men quickly realize they are evenly matched. After a tense struggle, Danny manages to gain the upper hand, delivering a sharp blow to Spike's groin before making his escape. Danny updates Davies and Mir, revealing he got the drugs. Their plan is to weaken Stephen and send him into shock to force a confession. Davies questions how Danny will reach Stephen, but Danny plans to drug him before the march. Davies remains skeptical since infiltrating the base is difficult, but Danny urges him to recall the layout from his training days. That's basically his only way in. At the SAS base, Davies fakes truck problems outside the fence, distracting an officer. Danny uses the officer's uniform as a disguise and sneaks inside. Spotting Stephen, he secretly drugs his coffee. As the march begins, the drug takes effect on Stephen. Danny stays close, getting the confession before Stephen passes on. The tape is sent to Shake. 2 down, 1 to go. The news reports Stephen's accidental passing, but Spike, watching, knows it was no accident. At a shooting range, Danny questions the agent about their tale. The agent dismisses his concerns, promising a better job after this one. Danny refuses because there is no after for him. The agent insists this life is who Danny is, but Danny disagrees. It's only what he's done, not who he is. Ignoring this, the agent hands him a file on Simon McCann, the third target. Simon is now a mercenary. Danny questions how the agent found him, but the agent evades the question and leaves. Davies doesn't trust him, but Danny just wants to finish the job. While tailing Simon, Danny calls Anne through a phone booth. She admits she misses him but is frustrated by his secrecy. She presses for answers, but Danny promises they'll talk when he returns. Frustrated, she hangs up. Back in the car, Davies and Danny finally notice Simon. From the looks of it, Simon won't be easy to take down since he's like a wild man. Spike pulls Simon away from the men he's fighting, surprising Danny, who instantly recognizes him from the hospital. Spike drives off, with Davies and Danny following closely behind. Upon arriving at his destination, Spike spots Danny's damaged car, which he remembers from the hospital, and immediately calls Simon to check on him. Meanwhile, Danny pays some street children for information on Spike. The reports Spike to the British representative, insisting they take action against the secret association trailing his men. Davies sets up a fake job interview with Simon over the phone, and they agree on a date and time. Danny formulates a plan, mapping out the route Simon will take to the interview. They intend to use the Boston Breaks technique to ambush him. Danny emphasizes that they have 10 days, so getting the job done quickly is crucial. Davies questions how Danny plans to extract a confession from Simon, given that he's being watched, but Danny reveals he intends to fake it. The British representative meets with a Feathermen member, ordering him to rein in Spike. At a meeting, Spike pushes to protect Simon, but the group refuses, citing a lack of evidence. Frustrated, Spike argues Simon is clearly the next target. The men decide to put it to a vote, but with the members absent, intentionally so by the way, they can't make a conclusion. Storming off, Spike is stopped by one member, who warns that higher-ups have intervened. If things go south, Spike will take the fall while they protect their reputations. Spike doesn't care and declares he's done with the association, vowing to handle things himself. Meanwhile, Danny and his team prepare for the ambush. Mir recruits Jake, a rookie, to drive while he controls the brakes remotely. On the day of the interview, Simon takes the planned route. Danny and the crew are in position, with Davies watching from a vantage point, counting down. Unbeknownst to them, Simon has a tail set up by Spike. Mir takes control of a truck's brakes after receiving a signal from Davies, causing an accident. Once Danny confirms that Simon has indeed passed, he spots Campbell, Spike's contact, and alerts the others. Mir gets back into the car, and Jake initiates a high-speed chase. Davies attempts to find a vantage point to take Campbell out. In his panic, Jake inadvertently leads them into a dead end, forcing them into a direct confrontation with Campbell. A fight breaks out. Jake, unfamiliar with handling a gun, fires at Campbell, who is in close range with Mir, accidentally hitting them both. Danny is furious, as the job had already been cleanly executed. There's no ID on Campbell. Danny checks his car and discovers a radio, realizing others are involved in the operation and are already searching for Campbell. Danny orders Jake to call the agent for a cleanup crew and informs Davies that their job is done. With his flight scheduled soon, he urges Davies to leave as well, warning that trouble is near and advising him to stay safe. Mir is now the unlucky one this time. Well, these things aren't always flawless. Spike learns of Campbell's disappearance and grows furious. Meanwhile, Davies checks into a hotel, unaware that Spike has spread their pictures around. The hotel manager alerts Spike, who sends his guy Pennock to capture Davies. While Davies enjoys himself with a hooker, his room is raided, and he's taken. Danny, listening through Campbell's radio, overhears Pennock's call to Spike, confirming Davies' capture, and grows frustrated. Davies manages to escape but is tragically hit by a truck. Spike is enraged since he's just lost his best lead. Pennock hands him the number they found on Davies, and he instructs them to trace it. Spike arrives home and is ambushed by Danny, who demands to know about Davies. Spike confirms his passing, enraging Danny. Spike argues that his own men were also taken out, but Danny warns him not to add himself to the list. He warns Spike to stay away since he's done with the game. In Oman, Danny hands the final fake tape to Sheikh and secures Hunter's release. As they leave, Danny makes Hunter promise to quit the mercenary life and focus on his family, and Hunter agrees. Danny returns to Australia to reunite with Anne. She admits she missed him, and he's ready to tell her everything, vowing never to go back. But Anne doesn't want to rehash the past, she just wants the present. Meanwhile, Spike traces the number to the agent. Just when Danny thinks he's free, the agent calls. Guess the mercenary lifestyle won't just leave him alone. Turns out there's a problem with the job. One of the men they took down was the wrong target. The agent wants Danny to meet with Sheikh and Bakite to correct the mistake, but Danny refuses. The agent then threatens him with Anne before hanging up. Now, on high alert, Danny rushes to check on her and finds her asleep, unharmed. However, a bullet has been placed beside her head. Unsettled, Danny insists she fly with him to London the next day. The agent has discovered their relationship, meaning she's no longer safe. The next day, they arrive at a safe house where Anne will stay until Danny returns. Before he leaves, she hugs him warmly, scared for his life, and the moment leads to a passionate kiss. Afterward, Hunter tries to talk Danny out of handling the job alone, but Danny remains firm. He asks Hunter to stay behind and watch over Anne, since he's the only one Danny trusts. Danny arrives for his meeting with Bakate and ends up taking down the security in a fit of rage. Furious about the bullet left beside Anne, he threatens Bakate. Bakate reveals that Harris was innocent, and that Ranulph Fiennes, now a writer, was actually responsible. Danny is livid that they made him take out the wrong man, but with no other way out, he has to finish the job. He meets with the agent to gather intel on Ranulph's book reading. The agent attempts to recruit some men to assist, but Danny insists on working alone. Unbeknownst to them, the office is bugged, and Spike listens in on their conversation. Meanwhile, Hunter stays committed to protecting Anne. He follows her to a restaurant, where she immediately recognizes him. When she questions why he isn't with Danny, Hunter explains that he's there to ensure her safety. Anne is worried Danny won't make it back, but Hunter reassures her that Danny will. Spike, anticipating Danny's next move, arranges for his men to protect Ranulph. Danny arrives at the venue on a bike, keeping his helmet on as he makes his way upstairs. Spike's men tail him closely, but as he reaches a door, he's hit with an electric shock. Spike and his men rush to capture Danny, but when they remove the helmet, they find Jake instead. Danny is way too smart to be caught easily. Realizing Jake was just a distraction, Spike immediately races toward Ranulph. Danny gets there first and shoots Ranulph in the leg. Just as he's about to finish him off, he has a flashback of the little girl he encountered in the car. The memory makes him hesitate, and instead of eliminating Ranulph, he decides to leave him wounded. To sell the illusion of a completed job, Danny takes photos to make it appear as though Ranulph is dead before making his escape. Moments later, Spike arrives to find Ranulph down and quickly sets off in pursuit of Danny. Spotting him fleeing across the rooftop, Spike alerts his men and gives chase. After a tense pursuit, Danny is eventually captured and taken to a warehouse for interrogation. Spike questions why he didn't finish Ranulph off. Danny didn't want to, though those who ordered the job feel differently. Pressing for more answers, Spike demands to know who's behind it all. Danny agrees to talk, but only if Spike promises to set him free. Danny reveals Shake's name and the real reason behind the job. He explains that if the photos he took end up in their hands, everything will be over. Spike takes the camera and starts walking out, ignoring his promise to release Danny. However, he's ambushed by the British representative. It turns out Danny was set up, and now Spike is caught in the middle of it. The government has been orchestrating everything, aiming to exploit Shake's desert for oil. The representative isn't there to negotiate, he's there to eliminate them. But Danny, thinking fast, starts a fight. It turns into a chaotic three-way battle, each man fighting for survival. In the scuffle, Danny manages to recover the tape, while Spike takes down the representative with a shot. Danny proceeds to escape, and Spike pursues with his pistol, but ultimately lets him go. Meanwhile, the agent follows Anne at a train station but notices Hunter nearby. He sends one of his men to take care of Hunter while he pursues Anne. But Hunter quickly overpowers the man. Just as the agent reaches for Anne, Hunter fires a shot into his leg. Anne, completely unaware of what just happened, steps onto the train and successfully leaves. The agent pleads desperately, insisting Anne was just collateral and that he only wanted his 10%. Hunter warns him to stay away from Danny, making it clear he won't hesitate to finish him off if he tries anything again, before walking away. Hunter tracks down Danny and assures him that Anne is safe. He offers to be Danny's backup after the last trap Danny walked into. Meanwhile, Spike meets with Shake and hands over the photos Danny took. Leaning in close, he quietly informs the now bedridden Shake that Ranulph is still alive, before ending his life right there. He turns on Buckite with the knife, but Buckite remains unfazed. He never wanted to go to the desert in the first place, and instead hands Spike the briefcase of money, before Spike walks off. From his vantage point, Hunter spots Spike and quickly alerts Danny. As Spike drives off, Shake's men give chase, leading to a high-speed pursuit. Danny and Hunter join in, tension rising with every second. In the chaos, Hunter manages to intercept Shake's men, putting an end to their chase. It's now Spike versus Hunter and Danny. During the high-speed chase, Hunter takes a shot at Spike's tires, forcing his car to a stop. They quickly surround him, and Hunter begins searching him. Danny questions what happened with Shake, and Spike admits he ended his life. With Buckite indifferent to it all, he feels like everything was pointless. Hunter finds money, and Danny tells him to leave it behind. Hunter, however, takes some of it to cover his expenses before tossing the briefcase back to Spike. He'll need every cent to escape now that he's tangled with the Shake's affairs. Danny tells Spike that he's done, but Spike doubts he can just walk away from this life. Danny insists that he decides his own fate and advises Spike to let it go before turning away. As they prepare to leave, Hunter promises to call Spike a cab once they reach the airport. They drive off, leaving Spike alone with the money. Danny reunites with Anne, who climbs into the car and kisses him passionately. Relieved to be alive and free, they drive off together, ready to start a new life.